busy again. Tell us about today.
Yeah, they've agreed a deal to Sarr from Strasbourg, and I don't think it was a very difficult deal to agree because Strasbourg have the same owners as Chelsea. Now, Sarr is a 19-year-old centre-back, a very commanding player, can also play as a defensive midfielder. And I think this move makes sense because he can go straight into the Club World Cup squad with Chelsea. Enzo Maresca can have a very close look at him. And we know that Chelsea are in the market for possibly signing a more established senior centre-back this summer. They tried to sign Dean Howson before he decided to move to Real Madrid. So I think this is a big opportunity for Mamadou Sarr. And I think he's the first signing that Chelsea have made from Strasbourg since Strasbourg was bought by Blueco.
Three of us tomorrow will be sitting here. The window would have finished 14 minutes ago, this time tomorrow. Will we be saying that Chelsea have got a new goalkeeper and they've got Jamie Gittins over the line as well?
I think there's a possibility that they may have a new goalkeeper. I think if it was left up to Mike Maignan himself, he would want a deal to be done. There are reports now in Italy saying that he is really pushing hard to try and force AC Milan to sell him to Chelsea. What we've been reporting is that Chelsea value him at 15 million euros. They know that he wants to move to Chelsea. He's going to be 30 next month. They don't want to pay more than that, even though he's the France #1 goalkeeper. So that is the situation. There are talks going on today about trying to complete a deal with AC Milan. But I think if Chelsea miss out on him, I don't think they see it as the end of the world. They've got lots of goalkeepers who they have faith in.
Got a lot of goalkeepers. Will they offload some?
Well, there is one.
Would he be #1, Maignan, if he came in?
I think so, because he's the France #1. So if you're the France #1, you'd really expect to be the #1 at Chelsea, which then would be question marks over the future of players like Robert Sanchez. But we know West Ham have asked about him during a conversation about Mohamed Kudus going from West Ham potentially to Chelsea. There is one line, though, about a goalkeeper leaving Chelsea today, potentially, Marcus Bettinelli, who could be replacing Scott Carson.
I didn't realise he was still there.
Yeah, no, he's still at Chelsea. He's still at Chelsea, but Scott Carson, I think, is leaving Manchester City now, which means that they are looking for a third-choice goalkeeper. So I think Marcus Bettinelli may be going to City.
OK, all right, let's take a break.
I think that was first reported by Mike McGrath earlier today.
It's interesting because there's been developments today. We're told that Manchester United have made initial approaches over the Sporting striker Victor Gyökeres, but it's via intermediaries. So it should be stated here, it isn't club-to-club contact yet. It's one of those situations where they will approach intermediaries to try and explore the conditions of a particular deal.
Is that normal?
Yeah, these things can happen between clubs. If a player has been told, yes, we will allow you to leave provided the price is right, there's no point wasting time. It's almost the unwritten rule of see if you can sort out a club and then the two clubs will come together and try and sort out a price. There's no point spending weeks and weeks, clubs trying to sort out a fee, finally getting it over the line and then say, come on then, oh no, I don't fancy going. Yeah. And all of that will have been for nothing. So there has to be some sort of encouragement that the player would want to go. We do know that the head coach, Ruben Amorim, is a huge admirer of Victor Gyökeres. He played under Amorim at Sporting, played fantastically well under Amorim, continued to play fantastically well last season as well. And it should also be said here that United are in the market for a striker regardless of what happens with Rasmus Højlund. We did tell you last week that there has been some interest, particularly from Italy, where his stock is still quite high because he came from Atalanta, was highly rated when United took a punt on him. Inter Milan, we think, are interested. They were just waiting for Christian Kivu to be appointed officially, and now they will make a decision on whether they want to pursue it or not. Rasmus Højlund, though, publicly at least, is saying, I've got a contract here for another few years. I'll be at Manchester United next season and I will be competing for my place next season. It should also be said here that United, yes, they are interested in Victor Gyökeres, that is clear, but there are a number of other players in that position that they'll be looking at too.
Are they still looking at Brian Mbeumo from Brentford?
100%, yeah. Talks are ongoing between Manchester United and Brentford over the signing of Brian Mbeumo. United, we think, will go back in with an improved offer for the forward after their first offer was rejected. That first offer was an initial £45 million plus £10 million in performance-related add-ons. So you're looking at a total package of £55 million. And I think United knew that would get rejected, but it's the start of a negotiation. What we do know is that Brian Mbeumo wants to go to Manchester United. There's all this talk that's come up recently that with Thomas Frank potentially going to Tottenham, would he try and sign Brian Mbeumo? He might try and do that, but as far as we're aware, we think that Mbeumo has chosen United.
Dharmesh, we've been told, haven't we, there's doom and gloom financially at Manchester United. People have, sadly lost their roles and stuff. Where's the money coming from for these signings?
Well, I mean, look, with regard to the Cunha signing and the Mbeumo signing, it's not Manchester United start a transfer window and they've got £0 to spend. They will have a budget, and I think that regardless of what happens with sales, those two kind of signings will fall within that budget. I think thereafter, then you might see a situation where Manchester United will have to maybe make sales to fund other signings. Now, if you look, interestingly, at the signings that they're trying to make at the moment, Mbeumo and Cunha's in already. You could argue that they would likely play in the number 10, one of the number 10 roles behind the striker. Now, if you look at the players that United have in their squad who could potentially play in that role, you're looking at the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, Garnacho. They look like that they would be up for sale effectively for United. So I think United would prefer permanent sales of those players. If you look at their market value at the moment, they would probably get around upwards of 100 to 125 million pounds combined for those four players. But you can't rule out loan moves again for these players either, because some of them, particularly Rashford and Sancho, will be on high wages. And so would a club want to take on those high wages, or will they need the help of a club like United to be able to maybe just subsidise some of those wages as well?
Another complicated summer for United then. Carvey, let's talk. Well, we knew Manchester City would get busy. They have. Let's start with that new deal for a left-back. Carvey, the details.
Yep, Manchester City have completed a deal for Riot Ait-Nouri from Wolves. Initial fee worth around £31 million. With add-ons that could reach £36 million. He has signed a 5-year contract, and of course he will be able to play in the Club World Cup for Manchester City, because this deal has been done before tomorrow night's deadline. Now, we've known that Pep Guardiola has been looking to sign a new left-back. City were also linked with Milos Kerkez at Bournemouth. It looks like he may be moving to Liverpool. Ait-Nouri has had a good spell at Wolves. He's been there for 4 seasons. He is very good going forward as well, excellent defensively as well. And I think it's been a long time since Pep Guardiola has actually signed an out-and-out left-back. So I'm sure Manchester City supporters will be pleased, because if there are any weaknesses in Manchester City's squad, perhaps that was one of them, and it looks like that weakness has now been addressed.
Yeah, it does indeed. Well, do you know what? That's Carvey. Nice to hear from Carvey, but should we hear from the man himself, Ryan Ait-Nouri? I promised, it's coming.
To be honest, I'm very, very happy, very proud. It was one of my goals to play in one club like Manchester City. Yeah, I'm very proud, and I can't wait to play with this shirt. My family, they are very happy also, and yeah, for sure, it's a very good day today. Yeah.
Once you knew of Manchester City's interest, was it an easy decision for you to make?
Yeah, for sure, it was an easy decision. We know the team they show last few years it was the best team in the world. And the player, they are amazing. The coach also. It's a pleasure to train every time it will be a pleasure to train with Pep Guardiola. And I can't wait. I'm come here to learn, to show also what I can do, and I will give my best.
Definitely worth waiting for. Dharmesh, and more to come from City. Tell us.
Yeah, one in now, definitely, in Ryan Ait-Nouri, and another Ryan is very, very close to joining. That's Ryan Cherki. Manchester City have agreed a £34 million deal with Lyon for the forward. City hope to type that medical, type all the personal terms in time, once again, like Ait-Nouri, for him to be available for the FIFA Club World Cup. He's had a really impressive season for Lyon. I think a lot of people will have seen him play for France, but also he scored in both legs of the Europa League quarter-final, which was quite an iconic game now against Manchester United. And in all, he scored 12 goals and provided 20 assists as well in all competitions this season. So you can see why City really wanted to sign him. And another player that is very, very close to joining as well is Tijjani Reinders. This one we have been talking about in the past couple of weeks. He's expected to join for an initial fee from AC Milan for £46.3 million. Depending on performance-related add-ons, that fee could go as high as £58 million. So you saw Manchester City really going for it in the January transfer window. Omar Mamouche, one of their headline signings then, and it could be one in already and two more to come.
Carve, it looks like good business, this, for City. Given they were linked with Florian Wirtz, who looks like it's going to cost an absolute fortune, have City done cracking business yet again?
I think City have been very active for the second window in a row. Normally, they don't really spend much in the January window, but they spent significant funds in January. They've spent significant funds again now. They are not going to take losing their title lying down. We heard from their chairman, Khaldoun Al-Mubarak, recently. He held his hands up and said, look, we made some mistakes by not strengthening the squad. We're going to address that and we're going to move quickly. And that's exactly what we've seen Manchester City do, especially so early in the window, using this mini window to get these players in so Pep Guardiola can work with them all across the summer, not just in the Club World Cup, but he'll have them when they have their very sort of short, curtailed pre-season as well after the Club World Cup. So I think it's really good news for Manchester City. And I think part of the thinking is this, and we've seen Manchester City complain because they get so little time between the end of the Club World Cup and their season starting. And they actually asked the Premier League whether the start of their season could be delayed to give their players a rest. And that request was turned down. I think it was an informal request. But I think this just shows that Pep Guardiola is really, really aware that this summer he needs to have a strong squad, he needs to get his signings in early, and he needs to make sure that he gives his players a lot of time off as well. So expect to see a lot of rotation in the City squad this summer.
Explain why, if Pep wanted more players during the Club World Cup, he could do it.
Well, the Club World Cup starts this weekend, and you would think that is that. You won't be able to register players for it until the tournament ends, and it lasts a month. But FIFA have said that we are going to have a mid-tournament registration window. So after the initial group phases, June the 27th to July the 3rd, you can register new players to play in the tournament. So there's still the possibility that clubs could sign players after June the 16th, when the transfer window opens, and then register them between the 27th and the 3rd of July.
It just feels like, doesn't it, that FIFA are trying everything they can to make sure that as many of the best players in the world are going to be available for this tournament. Even though the tournament has received so much criticism because of the football calendar, they are saying, no, this is the Club World Cup. We're finally going to find out who the best club in the world is with this tournament. So we want the best players in the
They're
world there as
desperate
well.
to compete with the Champions League, aren't they? Because they're going to do everything to get the best players there. Dharmesh, let's talk Manchester United.
Ya saltan 1K y el Barrio. Es determinante cuánto daño puede hacer el conjunto de 1K, sobre todo con Granero en esas primeras de cambio en la salida de escalera. Así que esa parte del partido va a ser absolutamente clave para el equipo de Iker Casillas. Por cierto, felicitar porque ha venido una buena afición de 1K.
Tiene la pelota Gerard Noya en cara, sigue Noya, Noya dispara, Arnalot.
80 paradas.
paradas ya para Arnalot. Gil Vidal ataca desde la derecha el número 9. Gil Vidal con el centro, buena pelota, Arché con la rodilla le pegó. Pues es el que desatasca un poco el partido, ¿no? Con centros, ojo ahí, se golpeó, el remate, ¡gol! ¡Mar Valiente! ¡Gol! Del Barrio, marca Mar Valiente. Esa banda izquierda que es terreno de los cañonazos de Granero, a la que tengo un mínimo de espacio, le pega Granero. Bueno, pues es decirlo, y ahí lo tenemos. El tema es que el remate le ha salido centrado. Abraham, buena pelota, banda derecha. Vamos a ver qué hace ahí Fran Rodríguez, se mete en el área, sigue Fran. ¡Qué bien Fran! Se va de dos, el remate, ¡fuera!
¡Chicos!
A ver si acierta. ¡Claro que
Mira
sí!
acá.
Busca el Barrio el segundo gol. Arché. Arché para Gil. Gil que le puede pegar a este Gil. Buen recorte. Gil al
¡Dios!
palo. Levanta Arché.
¡Dios!
¡Arnalot!
¡No!
Pelota arriba.
Madre mía, qué parada. Y a centímetros del remate, ¿eh?
No, la reacción ha sido impresionante. ¡El disparo! ¡Madre de Dios!
¡Ay!
¡Otro que vuela! ¡Otro más! Que está la pelota para John de la Cruz, la quiere levantar, vuelve a pegar la pelota en el cuerpo de un jugador del Barrio, el remate con la puntera y acaba deteniendo a Gerard Vacas. Será córner favorable a 1K. Bueno, a ver.
Gol doble.
Gol doble. A ver, saque de banda. Balón puesto en movimiento, intentaba rematar Mar Valiente, el remate, ¡gol! ¡Bauer! ¡Gol! ¡Del Barrio! ¡Le pegó con el alma! ¡Bauer!
Y es…
¡Penalti
¡Madre
normal!
mía lo de los penaltis!
¡Penalti normal! Y el que quiere hacer el 0-3 es el número 4, pega Valiente. ¡Vaya cañón! ¡Gol! Ahí están Arnalot y Vacas como candidatos, como guardametas, y también Mar Valiente y Pau Ferojo la recuperación. Tiene la pelota al Barrio que puede sentenciar el remate. ¡Gol!
Knockout.
¡Gol!
¡Let's go, Barrio! Ponme el 5, ponme el 5, ponme el 5.
El cambio del partido ha sido radical en los últimos 10 minutos. El balón que lo tiene. ¡Ojo!
¡Ay! Jaimitada.
Marca de nuevo el Barrio, gol de Fran Fuentes. El equipo de Juan Arroita, que no ganaba un encuentro con esta tranquilidad, entre comillas, al final, con un margen tan amplio, con 2 goles dobles que han hecho pasar el partido del 0-3 al 0-7.
Paufer ha costado, pero por fin ha llegado esa victoria tan deseada con goleada.
Ha costado mucho, pero bueno, le damos emoción hasta el momento final, recta final, y ahora, pase lo que pase con Pío, nos lo jugaremos contra ellos.
Eso te iba a decir, pase lo que pase con Pío, la semana que viene, o ellos, o tú, o tu ex equipo, o tú.
Bueno, o el Barrio o ellos, pero sí. La vida, yo qué sé, no sé, son cosas muy raras que suceden, pero ahí estaremos. Ahora estoy en el Barrio, así que espero que gane el Barrio.
Enhorabuena y a disfrutarlo.
Gracias.